big win for Manchester United yesterday, Gary.
Yeah.
Ralph Hasenhüttl summed it up well. He said, "You can hear them celebrating in their dressing room. You know what you have done today and how tough an opponent you have been, because they were celebrating like they had won the Premier League." There is
Yeah.
nothing that rival fans would love better than reading that about Manchester United this morning. But how good was Edinson Cavani when he came off the bench yesterday? Could you talk us through his movement and how he made it
Yeah.
look a lot easier than it really was to get them the winner yesterday?
Oh, and I just thought he was fantastic, and obviously he hasn't been at the levels to really start games as such. But just look at the cut of him, Owen. This guy's 33, but he looks like someone 5 or 6 years younger than that. And there was one moment in that game that really stood out for me in terms of people saying, listen, he's coming towards the end of his career. And I know Manchester United are a bit wary of what happened with Schweinsteiger and Sanchez, that these guys come later on in their career and not that able to kind of produce. But if you think about that header that he got up and he just hung there, the one that just drifted past the far post, that's the type of spring that you can't do when you're coming towards the end of your career. That's the first thing that goes. People talk about your legs and stuff, but it's that spring. He gets up there, he hangs, and then has the ability then to... It was incredible. I thought, wow. And then you're looking about his movement and stuff like that. And the movement is... The thing that stands out for me, certainly as a centre-half, is that when he attacks that initial space, whether it's near post or far post, he attacks it with every bit of energy that he has. I was actually watching a documentary this weekend on the 1986 World Cup in terms of what Maradona done, but it showed a couple of the England games, and it showed Gary Lineker, exactly the same. Those type of guys who give everything to get across the front of you or down the side of you. And when a centre-forward commits in that way, as a centre-half, it really, really panics you, because you think, I've got to go with a run. So suddenly then you do that a couple of times, you go with that run, and as soon as they go a couple of yards, you go full out as a centre-half and they pull away, you can't recover. It's that type of movement that makes it so difficult to mark. Harry Maguire is even commented post-match saying his movement's frightening. It's the best I've ever come across, and that's just in training. So you're seeing someone who commits to those runs in training, not alone in games. But I looked at that scenario and I said, as soon as he came on, I thought, oh, listen, United are going to get back into this. I could see it. I thought Vestergaard just looked absolutely out on his feet at centre-half. He struggled in the first half, didn't he, when he let that ball go through for Greenwood. All 3 goals are his fault as such, because he goes in initially into midfield when he doesn't need to. Cavani then gets and plays the ball into Fernandes. There's only one centre-half in there. He scores a goal. He gives away the cheap free kick for the second goal. He's deep. But when people talk about movement as well, Owen and Jay, if you look at the first goal that Cavani gets, the ball goes out to Bruno Fernandes on the edge of the box. There's 9 Southampton players, 5 United players. Every one of them is standing still. The only one who's on the move, on the strike from Bruno Fernandes, is Cavani, and he gets his goal as a result of that. It was so brilliant to watch it on the screen that they all stood still, watching and waiting to see where Fernandes' shot goes. He doesn't, gambles across the front, in fact, fights his way across one defender, knocks Van der Beek out of the way to get his goal. This guy's top-class centre-forward. And I'm looking at it now and thinking, I can understand where a lot of United fans and certainly critics of United were looking at it and thinking, because they're trying to build this now that deal was something of real planning. It wasn't. It was a last-minute decision. But certainly they look like they got a player who could contribute massively for the remainder of this season.
That's coachable. The way you've described that, that's like you can sit with somebody and say, when the ball is here, you need to start your movement.
Yeah, Jay, you can coach it, but I don't think you can do it with that intensity. I look at Martial and you know, you can coach it with him, but I don't see him breaking his neck to get across. I just don't see it. And not just him, I think a lot of top centre-forwards. Listen, look at Arsenal yesterday. Look at with Aubameyang. I didn't see, and I think he's a world-class centre-forward, but I didn't see him busting a gut to get across the front to get his goals. I certainly didn't see it with Tammy Abraham in terms of those crosses coming into the box, those brilliant wide crosses that he was on, busting a gut to get across the front. And they're the 2 guys, Tammy Abraham, a young, brilliant centre-forward, Aubameyang, a top-class, experienced centre-forward. I still don't think they go with that real verve to get across the way that Cavani does.
Yeah, fair enough. OK, I do remember, I can't remember what the source of this was, but Kluivert saying that he had been told by Louis van Gaal to always make the near-post run, always make the near-post run. And so that was where a lot of his goals came from, because he was always busting the gut to get there and do that, and that worked out okay for him.
Yeah. Well, listen, Clive, a brilliant player. We played in that qualifying when we got to the World Cup. I know we beat, we got a draw in Holland, beat them at home, but Clive was a fantastic player. I think when he came to the Premier League at Newcastle, I think his better days were behind him.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at that Manchester United result, and it's interesting to hear Hassan Hotel say that they're roaring and cheering their heads off in the United changing room. But I tell you what, with all those spin, I haven't read the reports yet, but I'm not looking at that game thinking that was a tactical masterclass to get them back into that game. No way, not for one moment. I think he starts with that diamond in the first half. They look good to begin with, but as soon as they concede that first goal, Southampton get a foothold in the game. You play and decide to play a diamond midfield, you're looking to control the game, because otherwise you're going to be so vulnerable in those wide positions. The setup was good, the diamond, I understand it. The very fact that you play Greenwood, Rashford as split strikers, that stops the fullbacks coming up, essentially. But the reality was, as soon as Southampton got a foothold in the game, Rashford and Greenwood were having to do too much work defensively. And that diamond, I mean, Donny van de Beek, you're playing him on the left-hand side of a diamond, Fred on the right-hand side. It just doesn't look well. I know they're talking about they played well in the Champions League, but that's a different level to the challenge in terms of who they played in Istanbul to who you're playing against in the Premier League. Second half, it makes those tactical changes. Cavani comes on, gives you a focal point. But in terms of the setup, they then go to a 4-4-2. Van der Beek goes to right midfield, Fernandes to left. Then they go 4-2-3-1. To the end, last 20 minutes, and credit to the players because they get themselves back into it. The players are running wherever they want. Van der Beek is in the left wing. And I'm looking at Southampton and thinking, guys, if you can just make that first pass, you're going to punish United because they've only got one Pasaka on that right-hand side defensively. But the problem is with Southampton, and we've seen it time and time again under Hassan Hotel, they come out of the blocks flying, but they can't last 90 minutes. No team's lost more points from winning positions than Southampton. And this is the concern. You look at them, and they were on their feet. They were gone. And I think I'm looking at that and thinking, I know we're hearing this is Manchester United way winning late games, but that was off the cuff towards the end, in my opinion.
Right.
And I don't think against the better teams they'll be able to do that.